Good evening and welcome. This is a regular meeting of the Princeton Planning Board on Thursday, September 5th, 2024. Pursuant to Section 13 of the Open Public Meetings Act, adequate notice of the time and place of this meeting has been given by prominently posting the resolution of regularly scheduled meetings of the Planning Board of Princeton for February 2024 through January 2025. A copy was filed with the Clerk of Princeton on January 8th, 2024. Legal notice on the adoption of said resolution was published in the January 12th, 2024 edition of the Princeton Packet. Notice of this meeting also has been posted to the municipal website, princetonnj.gov/calendar. Notice that all regular and special meetings of the Princeton Planning Board will be held electronically via Zoom, was transmitted to the Princeton Packet and the Times, and was filed with the Clerk of Princeton on Tuesday, January 17, 2023. Please note that this meeting is being recorded. During hearings on applications for development, members of the public will have an opportunity to comment and ask questions. Questions may be asked after an applicant's witnesses have testified. Public comment is heard by the board after an applicant's representatives have finished their presentations and have been questioned by board members and staff. The Planning Board also invites public comment on proposed ordinances referred to this board by Princeton's mayor and council for our assessment of the ordinance's consistency with the Princeton Community Master Plan. However, please be aware that the formal public hearing for all ordinances takes place before mayor and council at a council meeting, not before the Planning Board. Those wishing to comment orally should virtually raise your hand by clicking on the reactions button or the raise hand icon at the bottom of your Zoom screen, or if participating by phone, by pressing *9. Oral comments will be taken in the order in which hands were raised. We ask with respect that members of the public express your views in 3 minutes or less. A countdown clock will be used to help speakers keep track of time, and speakers who exceed 3 minutes will be interrupted. Inappropriate public comment containing obscenity, hate speech, or relating to matters not before the board will be muted. Carrie, will you call the roll, please?
Yes, Mr. Bodenheimer,
Present.
Ms. Capizzoli,
Here.
Mr. Cohen,
Here.
Mr. McGowan,
Here.
Ms. Nuka,
Present.
Mr. O'Donnell,
Here.
Ms. Perlmutter,
Here.
Ms. Sachs, Mr. Taylor, Ms. Claudia Wilson,
Here.
Mrs. Wilson.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Good. So, and Jackie's here too. Sorry, I didn't see that.
Thank
Next
you.
up, we have, sorry, announcements. Jack, are you able to, I'm sorry to interrupt before the announcements even start. Can you activate your camera, Jack?
His computer's going slow, but I think he's here.
Okay. Announcements. Justin.
Yes. So I just want to give an announcement about tonight's agenda. It's a pretty packed one, but it's not going to be so packed after this announcement. First off, the Wasco subdivision case on Stockton Street will be carried to a date in October due to variance and noticing issues. So we won't be hearing that one tonight. And then secondly, the capital review for the Princeton Public Schools improvements to 3 schools has been postponed and will most likely be reviewed by the board at the next meeting on September 19th. We'll go into further detail about each of these, why they're being carried, when they're being carried, all that, once we get to them. But just wanted to give a heads up to anyone that was here, that is here tonight and doesn't want to spend their whole night just to see the application that they're interested in being carried, but obviously feel free to stick around.
Now, Justin, when we had talked about this at the staff level, we had the idea that we would take jurisdiction with respect to Wasco, but then carry it. Is that still the idea?
That's correct. Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep, when we get to it. Good.
Mm-hmm. With
Any other announcements from staff or board members? Okay, my announcement is welcome back. Happy September. Subcommittee reports. We have landscape Subcommittee and Site Plan Subcommittee. Who would like to go first?
All right.
Julie?
The Landscape Subcommittee met on Friday, August 23rd at 10 a.m. to discuss 375 Terhune Road. And we successfully worked through all the issues with Dan Dobromilski and found resolution to all the issues.
And the committee voted to
To
release.
there were some tree issues that had to do with the resolution, and so we were able to clarify that, plantings, that sort of thing. So
and gave the green light.
right.
Okay, great. Thank you. David?
Yeah, the site plan subcommittee met on Wednesday, August 21st. And we considered the application at 84 Nassau Street, which was to consider whether the work that was done to the rear patio, which was done prior to submitting the application, whether we considered that to be a minor site plan application. And the work that was done was clearly minor. They paved a portion of what had been a grassy area behind the tea room, and they put in stormwater management committed to put in stormwater management and pervious pavers to ensure that the new impervious coverage complies with our stormwater ordinance. So based on that commitment to redo the work on the patio, the committee recommended that it be considered a minor site plan and be approved.
Okay. Good, thank you. Next up, we have minutes. The first set are from November 30th of last year. Obviously, that's a really long time ago, and it's unusual to take this long to bring minutes to the board, but the board may recall this, those of you who were on the board at the time, and maybe even if you weren't, that was a master plan public hearing. It was a long meeting. It was really important to get all the detail right, and so there went through several iterations, and I think they're in good shape now. But I just wanted to say something about that. Thank Carrie and Justin for and probably Jerry too for paying a whole bunch of attention to it over a long period of time. So would anyone like to move the minutes of November 30th, 2023? So
Seconded.
moved by Mr. Cohen, seconded
Madam
by.
Chair,
Yes, sir.
I have a question. I couldn't vote at that time. I did hear, the rest of the testimony. So should I just say I abstain from voting on this, or?
Were you there for the whole meeting on the 30th?
Yeah,
Then I think you're qualified to
Yep.
vote. Yeah.
okay,
Would you like to second them?
sure, I'll second it.
Okay.
Sure, that makes it
Moved
easy,
by
sure.
Mr. Cohen, seconded by Mr. McGowan. Let's do a roll call. Carrie?
Thank you. Mr. Bodekheimer,
Yes.
Ms. Capizoli,
Yes.
Mr. Cohen,
Yes.
Mr. McGowan,
Yes,
Mr. O'Donnell,
Yes.
Mr. Taylor,
Yes.
Mrs. Wilson.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carried.
Great. Thank you. Next are minutes from February 1st, 2024. This was a regular meeting. Any comments or edits or suggestions? And if not, would someone like to move those?
So moved.
Was that you, Nat?
That was me.
Okay, and Owen raised his hand. So
I'll second.
moved by Nat Bodekheimer, seconded by Owen O'Donnell. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Okay. Any opposed or abstaining? Okay. Thank you. I'm going to turn to Owen to handle the resolutions portion of the agenda because I'm conflicted from one and wasn't here for the other that we're considering tonight. So Owen, take it away.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We have three resolutions on the agenda. The first is from 10 Acre Foundation. It was a modification to major site development at 884 and 953 Great Road. It's file number P2424-449PD. Are there any questions, or would someone like to move?
I would like to identify who is eligible to vote and then do a roll call
Okay, Carrie.
vote. That would be Ms. Capizoli, Mr. Cohen, Mr. McGowan, Ms. Nuka, yourself, Mr. O'Donnell, Ms. Perlmutter, and Mr. Taylor.
Thank you for that. I saw David Cohen raise his hand
Yes, I move it.
to move. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, I'm gonna go with Jack, Jack Taylor. He was the first one that I heard. Second, Carrie, if you take the roll, please.
Yes, Ms. Capizoli,
Yes.
Mr. Cohen,
Yes,
Mr. McGowan,
Yes.
Ms. Nuka,
Yes.
Mr. O'Donnell,
Yes,
Ms. Perlmutter,
Yes.
and Mr. Taylor.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank
Motion
you.
carried.
thank you very much. The second resolution is Estate Shore. This is a minor subdivision with variances at 479 Jefferson Road, file number P2323-403MS. And this is going to be tabled for a future meeting. Justin or Jerry, do you have anything to add to?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. Basically, it just wasn't ready to go on the agenda today. We expect it'll be on September 19th, memorializing the case from June 25th. And we'll post it to the website now that it's ready to go, and you'll all be able to see it, as will members of the public.
Terrific. Thank you very much. So we'll move on to the third resolution, which was Anthony Viselli. It's a minor site plan with variance located at 299 Witherspoon Street, file number 22323-435 PM. Are there any questions or comments on this? Justin, you have your hand up?
I have one very small correction that we noticed after we already sent this out. On page 9, in condition 5, it states the canopy proposed for the solar parking area shall be solar ready. There's too many solars in there. So I think if the board would like, when you make the motion to modify it to remove the first solar, that would probably make more sense.
All right. Thank you very much. Ms. Wilson?
Technical issue because I'm recused, but is the file number a typo? Is it actually 22323 or is it just 2323?
2323, you're correct.
2323. Okay, that was a typo on the agenda then. Sorry about that. That's where I read it from. All right. Thank you very much for that. So the file number is 2323-435 PM. Thank you. Any other questions, or someone want to move this with the modification that Justin
Those
suggested?
members who are eligible, Mr. Bodickheimer, Ms. Capizoli, Mr. Cohen, Mr. McGowan, Ms. Nuka, Ms. Claudia, Ms. Wilson Anderson, and Mr. O'Donnell.
I'll move it with the correction noted by Mr. Lesko.
Thank you, Nat. Second,
second,
David, thank you very much for that. And Curry, can you take the vote, please?
Mr. Bodickheimer,
Aye, yes.
Ms. Capizoli,
Yes.
Mr. Cohen,
yes,
Mr. McGowan,
Yes.
Ms. Nuka,
Yes.
Ms. Wilson Anderson,
Yes.
and Mr. O'Donnell.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Thank you all very much. And with that, I'll turn the gavel back over to the chair.
Thank you, Owen. Next up, we have an application. Justin already announced that this will be postponed, but there's a little bit of business to be done in order to memorialize that related to noticing, et cetera. So I'll read it all. The application is Stephen Wasco, minor subdivision with variances. This is a lot line adjustment at 537 and 561 Stockton Street. It's block 9301, lots 11 and 12. File number P 2323-368 MS. Justin?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. Jerry, do we have jurisdiction? at this
Yes, we do. The notice was sufficient and we do have jurisdiction. Although we'll explain what our thinking is at this point. Go ahead. Go ahead,
Do you
Justin.
need to swear me in for just this part?
Yeah, I think I should. Do you swear that you will, or swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth?
Yes, I do.
Self-sworn or affirmed.
Thank you. And thank you, Madam Chair, and good evening, members of the board and members of the public. I didn't say that yet. This application will not be heard tonight. As I alluded to before, staff has found additional variances and the applicant agrees that it would be best to reschedule the case reflecting these variances within our report and elsewhere. So we would like to carry the case until October 17th. Now, it would go to the HPC before, so we're still finalizing when that date might be. If all goes well, we'll be able to hear this October 17th. If not, we'll be back at this board, moving jurisdiction over, or there would be renoticing.
Okay, great. Next up, we have an ordinance referral. This is ordinance 2024-32 regarding roof-mounted solar panels as accessory uses. Mr. Lesko, do you want to, do you need to be sworn in order to talk about this too, or?
No.
No, okay.
No.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Right ahead.
As the chair said, council has referred ordinance 2024-32 to the board for master plan consistency review. I'll summarize my memo dated August 28th, which was included in your packets and on the municipal website. The purpose of this ordinance is to allow for more opportunity for residents to add roof-mounted solar panels to their property without necessarily having to go to the zoning board for variances that ultimately cost time and money. This is really crafted based on inquiries that staff has received from residents who want to add solar panels based on our existing regulations, which do allow them. This is just a kind of slight modification. The ordinance would apply to 1- and 2-family homes in all residential districts in the former township and all before of the zoning districts in the former borough. The reason it only applies to those homes in those districts is because solar panels end up being regulated on commercial, educational, or other properties through site plan review at one of the boards. This board knows that well by requesting a lot of solar panels. One thing I should mention is those zones aren't changing from what's allowed now. But essentially what this ordinance does is allow solar panels on structures, keyword, in those residential districts, not just dwellings as it states now. This means you'd be able to put roof-mounted solar panels on detached garages, sheds, etc., which by the reading of the ordinance you can't do currently. It also allows or raises the permitted height of the solar panels to be 8 inches from the roof rather than the 6 inches allowed now. So slight increase. And lastly, language was removed and additional language was added to clarify the intent of the ordinance to allow for these roof-mounted panels on both existing or future structures. So I'll turn to the master plan now for this consistency review. In my opinion, this ordinance is consistent with the Princeton master plan in many places. The vision of the Princeton of the future in that plan states that we will be sustainable, resilient, and carbon neutral. Then the utility element includes a goal to promote renewable energy, including solar panels. The energy subsection of that utility element speaks to creating opportunities for on-site power generation, as well as specifically, it speaks to streamlining the permitting and review process for the on-site renewable energy by removing barriers and added costs, such as a trip to the board if you want to put panels on your shed or 8 inches above your roof, let's say. And don't think I forgot about the green building and environmental sustainability element of the master plan, which was carried over into the new master plan. The vision in that element actually goes further than the overall vision, and that is of a truly sustainable Princeton where all energy comes from renewable sources. As a result of that vision, the element states that using renewable energy, it repeats that throughout the element. And this ordinance is one small step in the right direction. The green building element also specifically mentions, quote, solar friendly zoning and permitting, end quote. So then more broadly, going back to the other parts of the plan, a land use goal of the plan is to reduce the costs of development and increase investment by streamlining procedures. And this would accomplish that. Also within that land use element, we have our first ever climate change hazard vulnerability assessment, which was recently required by the state. And the climate resiliency recommendations of that climate change hazard vulnerability assessment speak to hardening the grid by increasing on-site renewable energy generation in public and private development as a response to our increasingly severe weather patterns. And one last thing I want to mention is that the Historic Preservation Commission created and adopted guidelines for the installation of solar panels in locally designated historic districts in 2022, I believe. This ordinance does not change the HPC's processes in any way. When a home is in a historic district and wants to put up solar panels, they would still go through the HPC's process based on those guidelines. It does, however, align with the goals within those guidelines for homeowners to investigate alternate locations for where solar panels might go on their property. You could imagine someone now installing the panels, if this is approved by council, installing the panels on a newer garage that they have on their property rather than on their 300-year-old historic home without having to go to the zoning board again. Additionally, those guidelines from the HPC speak to discouraging the visibility of panels on historic structures. And I think the modest increase from 6 to 8 inches above the roof line really respects that and, is in line with that. But of course, these would still go to the HPC for review based on based on those guidelines and what parameters that the proposed panels meet. So that being said, I'm happy to take any questions that the board might have. Mr. Weissman is here as well, and he should get all the credit along with Councilman Cohen and others for helping to shepherd this through.
Thanks, Mr. Lesko. See Jack Taylor's hand went up. What's up, Jack?
Well, first and foremost, this is positive in every respect and clearly deserves our approval. My questions are probably reflective of my legal background, but I would appreciate clarification in the following 3 respects. First of all, I understand what a dwelling is. I'm not clear what a structure is or an accessory structure in the definition proposed, and that's number 1. Number 2, I note in your memo, Justin, that it's suggested that this will be applicable to all but 4 zoning districts in the borough. I don't understand the implication of that. And lastly, the third point, it was necessary apparently to make it applicable to all residential districts in the township. And it's not clear to me, why was that necessary? What was missing?
Mm-hmm. So tackling the second and third ones first, so because this is only for single family homes, 1 and 2 family homes, it only, or the residential districts in the township are the only ones that allow for single family homes. So of course we wouldn't then put it on service district or anything like that. And similarly for the former borough, those 4 districts, I don't remember them off the top of my head, but one is I believe where the Dinky Bar and that Arts Entertainment Transit area is, and 3 others that are similar like that. So like I said, if an application were to come in any of those districts, it would most likely, it's going to a board one way or another. So at that point, the board can discuss whether or not the solar panels. This is really to incentivize people with houses on lots right now, or in the future, from not having to, go to a board to put these on. And your first question, I'm sorry, can you repeat it?
Definition.
Dwellings.
The definition of structure or accessory structure in the context of dwellings.
I mean, I think I don't have the exact definition as it is in our code. I could probably look it up. Mr. Bridger would probably know it off the top of his head. But I think dwelling is clearly a place for people to live, whereas structures are, any of the other things that we allow on a site. So, of course, the detached garages or sheds, a pool house, I think, would probably fit that description, and other things like that.
Yeah, any construction above the ground level, above grade.
Thanks, Jack. Did that answer your questions?
It does. Thank you.
Good. Mr. Cohen?
Yeah, I just wanted to comment in case anyone was wondering. The Council Code Review Committee also considered allowing ground-mounted solar panels, but it seemed like a bit of a heavier lift in terms of vetting what restrictions would follow that, and staff has not been receiving requests for ground-mounted, so it didn't seem as urgent. So it is something we're going to be looking at as an accessory use in residential districts. It's just not in this version of the ordinance.
Thank you. I had a Freddie, go ahead.
Yeah, I don't have a question, but I just want to say, from an environmental standpoint, since I am the Environmental Commission representative, I mean, clearly this is something we would strongly support, and anything that it helps the environment, and certainly solar does, and making it easier to do it is something that the Environmental Commission would stand behind.
Great, thank you for that. In moving from 6 inches to 8 inches, I guess this is a question for Mr. Weissman. Does that allow for panels to be mounted above a low green roof, like a green roof made with, those very low growing succulents? Is that part of the rationale for the 8-inch allowance versus 6, or not? Just curious.
It wasn't considered part of this review. The main reason behind the raise from 6 inches to 8 inches is that certain types of flat roofs require a little more clearance for the structural members that would be supporting the solar panels.
Okay. All right, thanks. Mr. Cohen?
I just also wanted to comment that panels can go more than 8 inches above the roof. They just can't if the existing roof is close to the height limit, right? So we have 35 foot is a typical height limit in most of our residential neighborhoods. If you've got a 25-foot roof, you could certainly do the kind of thing that you were asking about with plantings under the panels, but they would have to be raised higher above the roof than just the 8 inches. But that 8-inch provision is specifically about what is allowed above and beyond the height restrictions that are in the code.
Okay, good, right. Thank you. Other questions for Justin or Dan or David? Questions or comments? Would someone like to move that the board finds this ordinance fully consistent with the master plan and applauds the council for moving it forward?
So moved.
May I do so? Yes.
Maybe somebody second it.
Ed, please.
Moved by Freddie Perlmutter, seconded by Nat Boddigheimer. Carrie, would you call the roll, please?
Yeah, that should be substantially consistent with the master plan.
Yeah, okay,
Here,
thank you.
obviously, there's no issue, but we want to be consistent from
Yeah,
review.
yeah, I might have been a little over the top there. Thank you.
Yeah.
Carrie,
Mr. Bodekheimer,
Yes.
Ms. Capizoli,
Yes,
Mr. Cohen,
Yes.
Mr. McGowan,
Yes.
Ms. Nuka,
Yes.
Mr. O'Donnell,
Yes.
Ms. Perlmutter,
Yes,
Mr. Taylor,
Yes,
and Mrs. Wilson.
yes.
Thank you. Motion carried.
Thank you, Carrie. Your voice is uncharacteristically quiet and distant.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm having an allergy attack, so.
That's okay. No, it's like feast or famine with your audio.
Sorry.
That's perfectly fine. We could hear you.
Yeah, the pollen is
Um,
really, really strong.
Yeah, yeah. Next up, we have a capital review, which, as Justin noted earlier, is postponed, but this is Princeton Public Schools site improvements to Community Park Elementary School, Littlebrook Elementary School, and Princeton Middle School. So, Justin, you want to say a little bit about the postponement and what we hope and expect in terms of the agenda that we can put it on, and then maybe if there are questions for you or for Mr. Mueller about our role as to review something that really is under the jurisdiction of the State Department of Education, that would be helpful too. I don't think we need to go into excruciating detail on that point because it'll be repeated on when we actually do the review, but just to give us the context.
Yep, absolutely. Thank you, Madam Chair. So as was stated, the planning board was slated to provide a capital review for proposed improvements by the Princeton Public Schools for 3 schools at tonight's meeting. The review has been postponed until we receive a copy of the school's long-range facility plan, which was amended at the end of August. And I do want to clarify, there are some things out there in the media and elsewhere with concerns about the lack of transparency or communication regarding the removal of this capital review from today's board agenda. And just kind of going back a little bit, the schools submitted a request to the board for the board to review these applications in late July after we as staff had a sit-down meeting with their team earlier in July. Once we realized in mid-August that their long-range facilities plan was last updated in 2018, we asked the schools if they had a more recent one in an email to their consultant, staff, land use attorney, and acting superintendent. They advised a week later that they submitted what's known as a major amendment to this long-range facilities plan to the state's Department of Education regarding the improvements to these 3 schools. And we requested this document to see, the major amendment, essentially the updated long-range facilities plan. Because of good planning and the ability for us as staff to provide you as the board with the information that you need to review. But also 2, because of requirements of the state law guiding the long-range facilities plan and its interplay with the municipal land use law that this board knows all too well. We don't necessarily need to get into what those state laws are tonight, though I will have more information in my memo when this capital review does return, in order to, like you said, Madam Chair, make sure the board understands their task. So then going back to the timeline, on Wednesday, August 28th, that was last Wednesday, we informed their team via their land use attorney that the review would be postponed without having received that long-range facilities plan as it was being created, to our knowledge. The next day, which would have been last Thursday, a week ago, we adjusted the planning board meeting agenda accordingly. The day after that, last Friday, we received a note from their attorney that their updated major amendment to the long-range facilities plan was approved by the State Department of Education. So obviously, the decision was already made to postpone the hearing by last Friday when we received that update. But even if it hadn't been, I don't believe we would have had enough time to adequately provide guidance to the board based on the information that we had at our disposal. Once we receive the updated plan, municipal staff will prepare a memo for the board, as we always do, referencing both the updated plan as well as our Princeton master plan. And we anticipate being able to do this at the board's meeting on September 19th, assuming we get the relevant documents to that long-range facilities plan that we've asked them to provide. We remain fully committed to working collaboratively with the schools team to complete this review process. So just in summary, there's been communication throughout this process as it has been rapidly evolving and frankly continues to evolve. And we have a path forward that I know will ultimately benefit the municipality, the schools, and the people of Princeton that we all serve.
Great, thank you. Anything to add, Jerry?
No, that's pretty much it. We've gotten some material from the Board of Education. We're not sure whether it's actually the submission of the long-range facilities plan. And we don't have anything on the response by the Department of Education. So we have a letter out to them saying, please get us by the 12th, so we can put it on for the 19th, the long-range facility plan approval, which we're supposed to do, the capital review approval, which is going to be based on the long-range facility plan. And if we need amendments to the master plan, we could try that too, but obviously there's noticing it for that. So hopefully what we'll get is something from the Board of Education, and I think we will. The attorney for the board has been very cooperative, which says, here's what we submitted, and here's how they respond. They being the State Department of Education responded.
Great. Okay. Mr. Taylor.
Jerry, I'm pleased that you've taken the approach that you have. Of all the issues that arose in the discussions across the community about the master plan, one that I find continues to pop up is the relationship between the planning board and our role and responsibilities and those of the Board of Education at a critical time in planning with capital implications that are extremely important, all concerned in the community. So I simply want to say, great, I think you're asking all the right questions. I think it's extremely important that we make any consideration of planning board and Board of Education issues a priority, understanding that the community is deeply concerned.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, thank you for that, Jack. So no actions required tonight. I just wanted folks to have a little bit of background. Does anybody have any other questions before we ask Mr. Cohen to move that we adjourn? I'm not seeing any hands go up. So what I expected to be a long meeting is a fairly short one this evening, but we'll be back on the 19th and with the full agenda. Mr. Cohen?
I will exercise my ceremonial role and move to adjourn.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
I'll second.
We all second.
By acclamation. Thank you. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Thank you, everybody. Appreciate it very much. And we'll see you next time, if not at next week's farmers market. Good night.
Have a good night.
Good
Good night.